Thanks so much for joining us here on the CBN News Channel. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Israel. A new warning from Syria today. If attacked, the country will retaliate against Israel. That comes after U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry reported there is undeniable evidence of a large-scale chemical weapons attack by the Assad regime. Now the U.S. and its allies appear to be preparing for a military response. The U.S. Secretary of State says there is undeniable evidence chemical weapons were used.
With our own eyes, we have all of us become witnesses.
Witnesses to the slaughter of civilians, women and children, by some of the world's most heinous weapons.
This is about the large-scale, indiscriminate use of weapons that the civilized world long ago decided must never be used at all. A conviction shared even by countries that agree on little else.
Military action by the U.S. and its allies appears imminent. The Obama administration is reaching out to congressional leaders, an action House Speaker John Boehner said must be taken before the U.S. becomes militarily involved in Syria. Russia, an ally of the Assad regime, is warning the U.S. against such a move, and Syrian officials are issuing a warning of their own. They say if the U.S. attacks, Israel will pay. In a statement Monday, a senior Syrian official said, quote, "We have strategic weapons and we're capable of responding. Normally, the strategic weapons are aimed at Israel." President Obama has not decided on military action, but military experts say an attack involving sea-launched cruise missiles is most likely. It's expected the attack would be limited, targeting chemical weapons facilities and lasting only a couple of days.
President Obama has made clear to the Assad regime that this international norm cannot be violated without consequences.
Israeli citizens are purchasing gas masks in preparation for a possible retaliatory strike from Syria.
So does President Obama's family have a connection to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt? An Egyptian official alleges the president's half-brother, Malik Obama, is a Muslim Brotherhood financier. Some Egyptians speculate the relationship may help explain why the U.S. government has supported the radical Islamist group. Our Gary Lane has more.
Here are recent television interview comments from Tahani El-Gabali. She's the vice president of Egypt's Supreme Constitutional Court. She said she had information to offer the American people about the funding of the Muslim Brotherhood.
ازاي اخو السيد الرئيس اوباما يعني نهدي للشعب الامريكي معلومه الغير شقيق الافريقي هو احد مهندسي الاستثمارات للتنظيم الدولي للاخوان المسلمين.
CBN News contributor, author, and Middle East analyst Raymond Ibrahim has just written about this. He joins us now via Skype. Raymond, what do you think? Are Ms. Gabali's revelations credible?
I believe so. You know, she's a high-ranked person. When you watch the video, as I did, the original video in Arabic, when she was speaking, it just seemed very natural. She was talking and, she's making all these points, and then she just kind of, as an aside, points. And, and Obama's brother, the Muslim Brotherhood member, who's a key architect of their finances and this and that, to the point that even the host was a little shocked, and she had to repeat it again, and she spoke it with very firm confidence, adding that, we have all these proofs, we need to bring them out, we need to use them. This is why the U.S. Obama administration is pressuring for the release of Morsi and the cohorts, and that's why they want to kind of stifle all this. But she's pushing to get all the documents and evidences out.
So this isn't coming from just someone on the street. This is a high official in the Egyptian government. What can you tell us about President Obama's brother Malik?
Well, he is actually, we know, he's a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's very much affiliated with the genocidal madman, Bashar Omar, the president of Sudan. He's affiliated with that organization. And so we know that he's a Muslim Brotherhood member. There's no doubts for that. There's a lot of evidences and points.
What about these allegations that the IRS tax exemption division director, Lois Lerner, signed off on tax-exempt approval for the Malik Foundation?
Exactly. And that's another one of those factors that, may raise big question marks that ask you, why is that? And, one just hopes that, once again, we're getting more and more evidence, just like we did with Benghazi, and, hopefully it will be taken seriously and responded to, not just ignored and covered up, and the mainstream media and people, just drop it. So we'll see.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
An Iranian court has rejected the appeal of American pastor Saeed Abedini. The court refused to reduce his 8-year prison sentence. Pastor Saeed was convicted for his Christian faith. Saeed's wife, Nagbe, expressed disappointment in the U.S. government, saying, "I am extremely disappointed that President Obama has chosen to remain silent on this critical human and religious rights case of an American imprisoned in Iran." On CBN's Newswatch, the ACLJ's Jordan Sekulow said the Obama administration can do more.
The relationship's gotten better, and that's because of a lot of pressure from a lot of supporters. The problem has been that the better has been reactive. It's not a lot of proactive work. So, for instance, we're kind of coming up with the creative ideas of what to do diplomatically, asking if that will be done, hope, and then, they say they'll try, instead of a proactive government really doing everything they can to get an American out of prison.
You can see that more of that interview and learn how you can help Pastor Saeed. Check out our website at cbnnews.com.
The persecution of Christians continues across Iran. At least 13 Christians have been arrested since July, but the charges against them remain unknown. Reverend Sam Yaganzar of Elam Ministries said, now that President Rouhani has expressed his determination to reopen lines of dialogue with the West, Iran should improve treatment of its religious minorities. Along with torture, Christians are facing sentences that range from years in prison to exile for their Christian activities.
In Egypt, over the past 2 weeks, the church has suffered its worst attacks in centuries. Islamic radicalism spurred the violence that has Chris Mitchell has found out that the attacks were met with Christian love.
The city of Minya sits at the epicenter of the persecution against the Christian church. This is the Emir Tadros Church in Minya, just one of the dozens of churches that have been destroyed throughout Egypt. This is a 100-year-old church, and as you can see, it's been completely destroyed on the inside. One Egyptian expert said the violence against the churches in Egypt is the worst in nearly 700 years. This exclusive video, aired for the first time on nationwide TV, shows the inside of the sanctuary is completely gutted and the altar destroyed. Now the church uses this makeshift altar outside, and the pastor explained to us they started holding their services at 6:30 in the morning. Engineers say the church would need to be torn down before it could be rebuilt.
To be sure that everything is burned, they put fire in every place. Before this, they make a sign for Christian places or cars or houses or buildings, and if the place has an X on it, they burn the place.
The churches weren't the only targets. Schools, cars, and businesses owned by Christians were destroyed. Muslim radicals marked Christian businesses with a black X before torching them. Perhaps most shocking was the destruction of this Christian orphanage. This is a Coptic Christian orphanage called Christ Soldiers. Muslim mobs came in here and they destroyed the building, leaving about 200 children without shelter. But they wanted to leave a message for the attackers, and they wrote it on the wall outside. And it said, "You meant to hurt us, but we forgive you. God is love. Everything works out for good." They also wrote, "Love your enemies." Evangelical ministries bore the brunt of many attacks. This is what remains of the bookstore in Minya of the Bible Society of Egypt. Their store in nearby Eshut was also destroyed. Those bookstores used to look like this one, the Bible Society's main bookstore in Cairo. Now the Bibles, Christian books, and children's materials are in shambles.
For the last 130 years, we have been operating. We have bookshops in the streets, in main cities, in Cairo, Alexandria, Tanta, Upper Egypt, and it has never happened in the history of the Bible Society.
According to this Egyptian website, more than 60 churches were attacked from Minya, Alexandria, Giza, Suez, and throughout Egypt. The rampage began after Muslim Brotherhood supporters used the churches as scapegoats for the army's decision to break up 2 Brotherhood protest camps in Cairo. They also blamed the church for participating in the ouster of President Mohamed Morsi. Yet Christians point out many of their Muslim neighbors defended and protected them. They don't see this as a Muslim against Christian issue, but as the Muslim Brotherhood against the Christians. And even though they have been targeted, they are responding with forgiveness and pressing on in the face of persecution. This Sunday school class at the Emir Tadros Church now meets in an alcove off the main building. They're learning about the namesake of the church, who was a Christian martyr. It's not your typical Sunday school lesson.
These days, I think, the children have a life experience. They see their church burned. They see how us forgive our enemies.
We respond as every other Christian has responded in Egypt. We are in Egypt to serve. We are in Egypt to demonstrate the Christian love. We do every effort to be self-restrained and to show the Christian love that the Lord has taught us to show.
The churches are asking for prayer and support from the church worldwide.
They can pray for us all the time, ask Jesus to save us.
What happens in Egypt affects the Middle East. So we ask them to pray for the country, we ask them to pray for Christians, we ask them to pray for the Middle East. And we also ask them to pray for the government, for the existing government, that the Lord may give them wisdom, guidance in every decision they make.
While living under threats, they vow to continue their ministries. They say the buildings have been destroyed, but the church goes on. And their faith remains in Jesus Christ, who promised he would build his church. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Minya, Egypt.
Still to come, what would you do if a student at your child's school decided he was a she and wanted to use the same bathroom facilities as your daughter? The new battle over transgender rights.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 U.S. gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Judges are making gay marriage legal in New Mexico. The state's largest county is now issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Monday, a district judge issued the order after a lesbian couple sought an emergency ruling because one of them is dying. 2 New Mexico counties have already been issuing licenses. Last week, a clerk in southern New Mexico decided on his own to recognize same-sex marriage.
A Christian legal group is challenging the New Jersey law that bans reparative therapy for minors struggling with homosexuality. Last week, Governor Chris Christie approved the ban, arguing mental health groups think the controversial therapy could be risky for young people. But Liberty Counsel says the law violates the constitutional rights of therapists by blocking them from giving their patients a choice. The group also points out the law ignores the cases of successful change from homosexuality.
Pennsylvania is the latest state to consider non-discrimination bills to provide special protections for gay and transgender people. Lawmakers say the bill will help the LGBT community, but opponents say it will undermine religious freedom and have a negative impact on children. For example, the bill protects gender identity or expression for education programs. That's being compared to California's new gender equality law. It allows transgender boys to use girls' locker rooms and showers and vice versa. For more on this issue, I recently spoke with Dr. Linda Mental, a licensed family therapist. Talk about the potential impact of this. I mean, kids would be able to see kids with a different sexual orientation in the locker room, possibly naked.
I know, and I don't think they've really thought this through, to be honest with you. We're talking about a small group of children or teens that will declare themselves. And they can do this by saying that today they feel like a girl, so they can go into then the boys' or the girls' locker room. So it's going to be very confusing. And one of the issues, I was thinking just of some of the ramifications, like what if a naked boy is in the locker room in a high school and a girl has been sexually abused or raped and she sees that boy? What if she starts to have flashbacks or has problems? What if there are kids in there that feel violated by the nudity or violated by that, and they're not comfortable with that kind of personal disclosure? Where are their rights and their boundaries? So I think it raises a lot. And one of the things I really would want to know is, are they going to immediately start studies then on the impact of the kids who are not transgendered and what that's doing to them? I bet you won't see too many of those studies going on in terms of the impact on them, and that's where we're concerned.
It's a huge concern. Well, is this law the best way to help people who identify themselves as transgender?
You know, look, I know that there's a lot of struggle and there's a lot of anxiety. I've worked with a lot of transgendered teenagers and young adults, and they really struggle in this area and don't know what to do. But when you start to legislate things and expect people then to just have no reaction to the people, it's not a way of helping them. I think this is best served by working one-on-one, by getting groups to be nicer, understand the dynamics, and take a different approach with the anxieties and the struggles.
Wow. Well, in our culture, we all know that it's become taboo to question whether homosexuality is a sin or not, or whether gender confusion is a problem. How should Christians begin to engage in culture in this situation?
I think this is a very important point, because what has happened is when it was decided that issues of morality then became civil rights issues, then there is no way to talk about it, no way to question it. Because if it's not a question of morality, which there are many of us that from a religious viewpoint believe that these are morality questions. We want to talk about this from a biblical concept and from a morals concept. But when it's framed as a civil rights issue, the minute you bring it up, you're discriminating, you're intolerant, you're a bigot, you're whatever. And so you can't have a conversation. So I think what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to go back to the words of Jesus. And we're going to have to win them by our love. And it's our love to people that are struggling with all these issues that's really going to come down in the point. Because in the public marketplace, the minute you take it on, you're intolerant. But yet no one has tolerance for the view of the Christian who has a different approach.
Absolutely correct. Dr. Linda Mental, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time and your insights.
Tough times. Thanks for having me.
Up next, it is stranger than fiction. A couple of birds died on his company's property, while the government almost threw the man in prison for it.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans. With with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Well, suppose your cat killed a bird or a bird crashed into your window and died, and then a federal prosecutor shows up to put you in jail.
It sounds absolutely absurd, but that's the basic premise behind what happened in North Dakota after the deaths of 27 birds. Paul Strand explains.
Recently, a Texas oilman suddenly found himself facing a frightening fate.
While Bud Brigham was working at his offices here in the Austin area, little did he know that the death of 2 birds hundreds of miles away in North Dakota could threaten to put him in a prison cell.
His drill sites, like most, have waste pools next to them, and some birds land in them and drown. Brigham got word a federal prosecutor was making a special effort to find such dead birds.
Justice Department appointed me, apparently chartered a helicopter to go search for this, and flew around to all the different well sites in western North Dakota.
This prosecutor used what he found to charge 7 oil and gas companies with criminally killing birds, 2 mallards in Brigham's case, in violation of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Now, this 1918 law was only supposed to be used on poachers or hunters deliberately and illegally killing migratory birds. But that didn't stop this prosecutorial team.
They had found 28 total birds and 2 on our well sites. And for 2 mallards, there were cash fines, but also that as CEO that I could potentially serve 2 consecutive 6-month terms in prison.
Vigrant Reddy fights for criminal and prison reform from a think tank in Texas.
It just seems completely absurd to think that you would lock somebody up for something like that.
I am a father of 5, with children from 8 to 17 years old, and to think that I could possibly go to prison for this for up to a year, it was just really almost, it was very surreal.
Even more surreal, if the government could have imprisoned these oil execs, it could theoretically throw any American in jail if they had any connection to a migrating bird's death. So the judge ruled he couldn't go along with what the prosecutor wanted because it would yield absurd results, like criminalizing farming, cutting brush and trees, driving, owning a building with windows, owning a cat, all of which end up killing birds. The government wanted to punish the oil execs for 27 bird deaths. But Judge Hovland pointed out power lines kill as many as 174 million, cats hundreds of millions, crashing into windows 97 to 976 million a year, crashing into cars maybe 60 million. So the judge wrote, to be consistent, the government would have to criminalize driving, construction, airplane flights, farming.
Every company that has power lines, every person with a home that the duck accidentally flies into, they would be criminally culpable.
So the judge tossed out the case. But you have to wonder why the government would go after these oil execs and not their fellow energy producers in the wind industry, which kills 33,000 to 250,000 birds a year with its wind turbines. Maybe this wasn't about the birds, but harassing an industry not green enough for the Obama administration.
There's been some criticism that perhaps the presidential administration isn't as enthusiastic about all the drilling as the drillers themselves and the people of North Dakota, frankly.
It does seem that there's hostility towards us. There was an EPA administrator here in North Texas that talked about crucifying the oil and gas industry to set an example.
Paul Rosenzweig co-authored the book One Nation Under Arrest.
Just as individuals can be subject to arbitrary and capricious prosecution, so too companies can be. Often they are disfavored companies who make products that somebody in authority thinks shouldn't be made, even though they're perfectly legal.
And with so many laws on the books these days, and more being added all the time, the government can find a way to prosecute almost any citizen or industry it wants.
On average, every American probably commits about 3 felonies a day.
Brigham says it feels un-American the way the feds have targeted him and tried to put him away.
We're being attacked by our own government, and it is startling and it's frightening.
Meanwhile, a favorite industry like wind gets away with literally littering the landscape with bird corpses. Some in government are even proposing this.
to give wind turbines the freedom to kill the bald eagle, the national bird. And here they go after us for a couple of mallards.
So here's maybe a matter of both over-criminalization and under-criminalization. Executives with the unfavored oil companies threatened with jail time for killing a couple of dozen birds, while those who build wind turbines, the darling of clean energy advocates, well, they kill tens of thousands of birds a year and never hear a word from the Justice Department. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Austin, Texas.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
President Obama awarded a soldier the Medal of Honor at the White House Monday.
It is the military's highest honor. Army Staff Sergeant Ty Carter won it for his courageous actions during one of the deadliest attacks on U.S. troops in the Afghanistan war. Carter risked his own life to kill some of the estimated 300 enemy combatants, provide fellow troops with ammunition, and give first aid to an injured soldier. 8 American soldiers died in that attack. Carter is the 5th living recipient to win the Medal of Honor for actions in Iraq or Afghanistan, and God bless him, he's a true hero.
Indeed he is. Well, that is going to do it now for CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us next time. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible.
from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.